Hi everyone, Anthony Fantano here, internet's busiest music nerd. I hope you're doing well. And you know what grinds my gears? Metacritic. Yes, the professional review aggregation website Metacritic. And I don't like Metacritic very much. And not because my reviews aren't featured there or anything like that. I promise you, I swear to you, if they included my reviews over there, I wouldn't like Metacritic anymore, and the criticisms I'm going to make of Metacritic in this video would still stand. And look, there are a lot of different review aggregation sites out there and opinion aggregation sites out there that I think are pretty cool and pretty great. But like, you know, top of the pops for the most part is Metacritic, and it just so happens that when it comes to bringing opinions together and averaging them out and creating a community around that, I think Metacritic is just about the worst, because I think the site's just so ineffective at what it's attempting to do. And, you know, that's give music listeners and movie fans and video game fans, fans of multiple different kinds of media, an overview of the quality of some of the new relevant releases or whatever that have come out, that have dropped. But when you peruse the site and you actually look through the scores and the aggregations, it's kind of hard to get a sense of that, because I more or less get the impression that everything is good and everything's worth my time, and that can't be true. Okay, just as a recent example, looking through a bunch of score aggregations here of recently released records, like peering at this, how am I supposed to see what's truly good or truly worth my time when nearly everything is a 79, it's an 80-something, it's a 90-something, it's green. Even the Elton John here, just like barely bordering on 70, just barely crossing over into that 70 realm, is still green. And when you expand it, the user score is a 3.7. Like, everything's green. Everything's apparently good. Apparently everything's worth your time. The stuff that gets yellow is the stuff that, like, so obviously sucks and is not good, like the new Coldplay record. And it just so happens to be that Coldplay is a band that, when it comes to music criticism and music publications at large, it's pretty uncontroversial to crap on Coldplay at this point. Even some of the most hardcore Coldplay fans have been in my comments after I gave the record a 2, saying like, yeah, this one's awful. But like, not every album here can be as incredible as the site is portraying it to be. Even the Atlas Underground record with Tom Morello, which is obviously not a great album by any means, getting a 65, still in the green, of course, and the user score TBD. And the next one we have down here is, of course, the new Kanye record, which I think a lot of reviews, while some critics were certainly well within their right to call Kanye out on, like, you know, the Marilyn Manson inclusion and everything like that, I think the reflection of this score is based more in Kanye pissing off the critics than it is in the quality of the record itself. So, and look, this is one of the biggest and most significant records of the year, and if this score is supposed to be communicating to me whether or not this album is worth my time, it's doing a pretty shitty job at that, because Donda is easily worth your time whether you hate Kanye or not. So look, when it comes to these scores, there are some that I agree with for sure. There are some records here that I've given very positive reviews, or I generally think are very enjoyable albums. I don't hate them by any means. The issue is that ultimately what this page, what this site is telling me is that pretty much everything's good. Almost nothing is bad. If you want your album to get a bad score, you really have to make critics angry, I guess. Look, this isn't a problem that I have with score aggregation or score collection in general. It's that there are multiple filters to the system we're seeing here that bring us to this point that is creating these lists and creating this platform, creating this site that, again, in terms of a curation perspective, in terms of a recommendation perspective, is bland and feckless, because you have to take into account the kinds of scores and opinions that Metacritic is gathering for these lists and this site. And I have no issue generally with like professional grade reviews with, Rolling Stone reviews, Pitchfork reviews, so on and so forth. But, remember that these scores and these opinions aren't being arrived to merely by individual means. There is a collective agreement, or I guess decision being made between reviewer, editor, anybody else who sort of might have a word in edgewise. So the opinion that you may see, even though there is a byline on whatever site next to whatever review, it's not typically individually, again, the reviewer deciding on their own, going rogue and saying, this is the score, it's got to be this, and then it goes up with that number. So even if it's not portrayed as such on any given music review website, you are still getting, in a way, a collectivized opinion. Then you're taking a collectivized opinion and you're collectivizing those into a larger list here. So we have one filter, two filters, and then we have an additional filter, which is the Metacritic weighing system, which leads us to a point where we're not necessarily getting like the raw averaging out of all the scores for any given album or piece of media. So again, with all of those filters taking off the rough edges of critiques in every direction, what you get is this that I already showed you. Everything looks good. Everything looks green. Everything's positive. Geez, it just looks like everything that's come out is great. Now, again, I'm not against opinion or review aggregation in general. I think there are some sites that do it with a bit more bite or do it in such a way where some albums that are actually interesting rise to the top, be it album of the year or Sputnik Music or Rate Your Music. Maybe some of those sites are more based on just user opinions, and those certainly aren't perfect all the time. There is the curious phenomenon of review bombing, where people who feel a certain way about a particular title, be it in gaming, movies, whatever, will leave a bunch of instantly positive or instantly negative reviews on that title. So we can go in one way or the other. And Metacritic is one of the worst places for it, because Metacritic is one of the most popular review aggregation sites. And yeah, they do have, I guess, a bit of a plan here to stop it, only with video games, though. So look, those are my thoughts. Those are my opinions. Metacritic, as far as averaging and aggregating scores, pretty mediocre. And yeah, you're the best. Love ya. Anthony Fantano, Metacritic. Over here next to my head is another video that you can check out. Hit that up, or the link to subscribe to the channel. Music forever.